In this video, I'm going to walk you through the introduction guidelines for a graduate level thesis. I'll first point to some resources. There's a custom chatbot created in ChatGPT, and all you need to use it is an account with ChatGPT, not a paid account, but just an account. And you can use Theo, which will help answer all your questions about writing a master's or a doctoral thesis. Here are some examples below on solid EDD introductions, some of which have been used in thesis proposals, others in final theses. I think you'll find them very valuable as examples to follow as you try to create your introduction. So the first section of the introduction is sort of the executive summary. And in this section, you'll be defining key terms. You'll give a brief overview of why this is a relevant topic. You'll talk about the research problem and context and the purpose of the study. Now, the definition of terms can be wedded into each of these sections. It doesn't have to be a labeled section definition of terms. And in this case, you're actually defining terms, but not going into great depth. You can go into more depth in your literature review. I won't go through each of these sections, these components, because I'm pretty sure you can read them, but they're a very successful way and formula for actually providing an overview before as someone gets into your thesis. Then you go into a little more detail about the background and rationale. So this isn't a big literature review, but it's 5 to 10 critical studies in your area that will identify the key areas. And so it'll be the key areas that have been addressed already in your field in the literature. And then you will note the gaps, the research gaps that have not been examined. And those are the components that your thesis will examine. And then you'll talk about the relevance of your particular thesis topic, focusing relevance to students, teachers, or educational systems in a meaningful way. Next, you'll write your research questions. This isn't a lengthy component, but you really want to have good research questions. And there's a whole document here on research questions and how to create them. And I strongly encourage you to look at that. I also strongly encourage you to use a paid version of a chatbot to assess your research questions and to criticize them. Tell the chatbot that it is an experienced researcher and supervisor and research questions in education, and you want to take a critical analysis of your research questions, and you can give the context. That's how you're going to really improve it. Now, the positionality statement's really important, particularly for qualitative research. And you can click here for the guidelines or here for the guidelines. And it'll allow you to present your personal background, your assumptions and biases, and your relationship with participants of the context, if possible. In all these cases, you want to tell us um, here how these experiences shape your approach to your research, how you'll manage the biases and ensure rigor and transparency, and what steps you'll navigate to maintain objectivity. So it's not just enough to tell about your positionality. You want to actually explain how you are going to address any potential biases. And then finally, you're going to talk about the significance of the study, the practical significance, and potentially the theoretical significance, although that's not always the case in a doctoral study. So that's a brief overview of the introduction guidelines.